It's another episode of The Next Fix, and we've got a unique experience today. We've got Jon Paul Crimi. You're in LA. You're coming to us from the West Coast, right, brother?
Well, I'm in Bend, Oregon now.
Okay, you're in Oregon. Cool,
Yeah.
cool, cool. And so this gentleman has blown my mind as of this morning. And so we're going to get into how he got into this work, what exactly has his experience been with recovery, because there's a lot of topics to discuss. So first and foremost, though, brother, I want to know how you're doing, man. How are you living?
I'm living well. I'm living good. My life is fantastic. It's beautiful. I'm blessed. I'm happy to be here and speak with you, Ryan.
Yeah, man. I'm so the reason why I'm so pumped, everybody, is just so I can let the cat out of the bag, is that this beautiful gentleman, Jon Paul, had sent a recording of like what he does. And so before we hit record for the next fix, I decided to look into it and willingly, and I didn't know much about breath work. I had no idea what I was getting into. It wasn't as if I was underestimating it. It's just that I had no tee up for what I was about to experience. And what happened next really blew my mind. I've done things. I've done hot yoga. I've done Spartan races. I've done some work on myself. I'm no stranger to a long run. I can run 5 or 6 miles. No big deal. I'm not in bad shape. I'm not sitting around the couch. But this particular exercise in Jon Paul's delivery on how he does breath work had me losing my mind. And he'll probably go into maybe the flow, but I was crying. I was having a spiritual moment. My body was kind of freaking out. All the things he was saying, and I didn't like. It was too damn early for me to doubt him. I was like, I'm looking at, I'm like, really? All this stuff's gonna happen? I mean, what the hell are you talking about, bro? And then so
Yeah.
I started doing it, and then the magic started hitting me, and I'm like, what on earth am I doing? So, and it was 30. Well, I guess the exercise like 30 minutes. But anyways, so Jon Paul kind of, like do the unwrapping of what you presented me and what I got to experience this morning.
Sure. The breath work is something that I've been leading for 15 years. It changed my life 15 years ago. And when I discovered it, it was very different than the class you did this morning, right? It's a completely different experience, different class. It was a totally different package, but the technique was the same. And the technique was life changing. And I had this awakening moment. I had this emotional release. Everything you were just talking about, I had as well. The most common statement from my classes is, oh my God, that felt like 20 years of therapy without having to say a word, right? So there's a lot of different things that happen, and different things happen for different people. And breath work is an umbrella term. It's like saying fitness. If you go, Ryan, I do fitness, you go, well, what do you do, bro? Like, you do CrossFit, you do Soul Cycle, like, what's fitness? Like, so there's all these different types of breath work. There's Wim Hof, there's box breathing. The type that I teach is circular breath work, or conscious connected breathing. So it's more for an emotional state, emotional release, to clear things, stress, anxiety, grief, to help integrate trauma. So when I found it, I had a big experience, and I go, why doesn't everybody know about this? Why doesn't the whole world know about this incredible thing? And I realized it had been kept in these new age kind of woo woo circles with people with, dreadlocks and mala beads and white flowing shirts. And those really aren't my people, right? There's nothing wrong with those people, but I have a certain kind of person, and people want to do things with people they can relate to. So I thought, if somebody, and I had just met Tony Robbins, and Tony had invited me to a seminar, and that was life changing. And I thought, if somebody did this kind of Tony Robbins-esque, but with my, using my East Coast funny edge, and had some more preparation in the beginning, like prepared people properly, told them about the science, told them what's going to happen, told them the physical, the mental, the emotional, all these things that are going to happen to them. And then had cooler music, because the music wasn't cool when I found it, had some cool ass music in there. And then we
It's
had,
true.
I've added some elements. There's the scream at the end, and then there's the moments, which I actually got from Tony, who got from somebody else, I'm sure.
Right,
And
right,
so
right.
there's all these things that I added to the class to make it that package. So I took this thing and I completely repurposed it, repackaged it for modern day, because I want to help housewives that are stressed out. I want to help business entrepreneurs and firemen that have trauma, regular people. I don't need to be in a room with 6 other spiritual people talking about how spiritual we are. I want to
Right.
help the everyday people. So that's
Sure.
what I did. And I thought, if somebody did it this way, they'd have hundreds, maybe thousands of people in the room. And I was right. That's what happened.
Well, I mean, it was unreal, man. I was like, I mean, I was like, my body was kind of freaking out, and you kind of lightly touch on everything. I didn't realize exactly what you said was going to happen. I was like, sure, sure,
You
sure.
didn't believe me.
Well, I just didn't.
Nobody does though, but you can't wrap your brain around the idea that this is something you've been doing your whole life, right? You're gonna suddenly lay down and breathe in a different way, that some guy's gonna show you a different way to breathe, and it's gonna have this massive effect. But I have to really applaud you, Ryan, because I've sent this out to a lot of people, that I'm doing podcasts with, and they don't do it. So you're a different kind of guy. You're the kind of guy that's like, you know what? I have an open mind. I'll try something different. And that's what it takes to change your life. People
Right.
don't want to try. Everyone thinks they have an open mind. The most closed-minded people in the world they think they have an open mind, right? But it actually takes an open mind to be like, I'm going to try. All right, I thought it was stupid. I'm going to try breathing. Somebody's going to show me how to breathe. I'm going to pay to go to a breathing class. But until you do it, you just don't know. And if you want to level up in your life, you have to do something different, right?
Yeah, and it stretched me, man. It
Yeah.
stretched like, I'm not kidding around. I can run nonstop for 5 to 6 miles. It's, like, not a big deal. But this particular approach, using
Yeah.
the same lungs that can do that, well, I was having a hard time. My body, I was pushing, and I was like the same things you were saying, right? I'm like, "I gotta go to the bathroom. My mouth is dry." I'm like, "Oh my gosh, she's right." So what's happening in those moments, and this is something that I am familiar with, is that when we do approach or we engage with the uncomfortable, our minds they're like surgeons when it comes to getting out of the uncomfortable. You could talk your way out or think your way out of anything. Oh, well, I just can't do it today because of X, Y, and Z. And so I felt all that coming, and I know, okay, well, if I can hang on, there's probably a really huge benefit. And so I know that much from being in these. And that's just like you said, brother. I was crying. I was having a spiritual moment. I was thinking about all the people that I love. It was like, it was crazy, man. It was like I don't know. It was like a psychedelic experience where
Yeah.
all I was doing was breathing and laying on the ground. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, listen, I've had 13-year-olds and I've had, 85-year-olds do this thing, right? But it's like a triathlon for your emotions in your mind, because you're going to go through different levels, different stages, kind of like a psychedelic experience. A psychedelic experience, you go through stages, right? There's the resistance, there's the fear, there's all these different stages. And then you're like, oh, this is happening, right? Some weird things are happening. So there's all these different stages that you go through when you do it, especially the first time when you don't know what to expect. And one of the things that's wild about it is it's different for everybody and it's different every time you do it. So you could do that replay again tomorrow or later this week. It's good till Friday, and you'll have a different experience because it's kind of leveling you up in different ways. It's clearing out old stories and old things that you have trapped down in your body. People don't realize, like, I thought I've done all the work. I've done all the 12 step. I've done all the therapy. I've done Hoffman. I've done Tony Robbins. And then I laid down and did breath work. And it was like, holy shit, there's so much more here, because some of that stuff, no matter how much you talk about it or write about it or whatever, it's in your body, it's in your nervous system, it's in your cells. And this will help integrate it and clear it and process it in a way that nothing else can. And
Yeah.
until you do it, you just don't know what I'm talking about.
100%, man. That is spot on. Now, I do want to kind of, because you were a sober, not coach. What was it? A sober friend, which I'm
I was a
familiar with.
sober companion, sober coach. Yeah. For a bunch of celebrities, rock stars, celebrities, CEOs, you name it. I did it for 17 years. And then I had a company where I sent other people out to do it and I managed those cases.
Sure, sure, sure. Now, typically, that type of pursuit, that type of passion, it came from somewhere. And so
Yeah.
I want to know, and typically my audience wants to know, like, what was the genesis? What was the catalyst for you to start participating and helping in that space?
Well, I was a trainer at Gold's Gym in Venice, the mecca of narcissism, or the mecca of bodybuilding. Sorry. And I had some celebrity clients that I trained. And one of my clients, who wasn't a celebrity, but he owned a sober companion company, he said, "You'd be really good." I was a year or two sober. "You'd be really good at doing the sober companion work." And I go, "I don't think I want to do that." But he said, "Well, go meet with this guy, go have lunch with this guy." And I thought, okay. And so I had lunch with this guy and I helped this guy. I was a sober coach, sober companion, and I was really good at it because I'm kind of a no nonsense guy, right? I'm
Well,
kind
hold
of,
on a second. I want to pump the brakes here. I want to know what, like, why did you get sober? Or why did you like what did it look like there? Yeah.
Yeah, you wanna back up to the origin story,
Shit show. Like, what are those
yeah.
shits? What was going on?
Sure. I mean, I'll go brief into my where I come from, which is I'm from Boston, right? And I'm from a small town called Pembroke, Massachusetts in Boston. It's on the South Shore. It's the 13th most Irish town in America. I'm sorry, it's the fifth most Irish town in America, surrounded by the 13 most Irish towns in America. They call it the
Yeah.
Irish Riviera, right? And so, and with a name like John Paul, people are like, Jean Paul, are you French? I'm like, I'm not French. I'm actually Irish, Italian, and Scottish, which means I like to drink a lot. I don't want to pay for it. And then I want to start a fight. And then also growing up on the South Shore of Boston means I like to drink a lot. I don't want to pay for it, and then I want to start a fight. And so I grew up in that environment, and that's just what it was. We were drinking a lot, we were partying a lot, and I had a lot of things happen to me. Which trauma is a big word that's thrown around a lot. I think it's overused now, but definitely getting stabbed in the head when I was 19 and left for dead. That'll cause some trauma. Getting jumped when you're 15 years old by five guys in their 20s and getting beat up till you're unconscious, that'll cause some trauma. So, Freud says that the most important decision you'll ever make is whether you live in a hostile universe or a friendly universe. And I lived in a hostile universe. And it was weird because it was a beautiful middle class town. But, a lot of people moved from the city, from Southie, the city, into this middle class area. So it was like, city mentality in a middle class neighborhood. Like your bike would get stolen all the time and you would
Right.
get in fights all the time in a middle class neighborhood, right? It's just the way it was, just the way I grew up. And I started drinking from a really young age, probably 12, 13 years old, getting high, doing all kinds of drugs, LSD. I mean, you name it. I just, what do you got was what
Right. Right.
and when I got stabbed in the head, I was out at a party the next day with my whole head bandaged up the next night. And people were like, drinking. And people were like, didn't you get stabbed? And I'm like, yeah. What do you got? You holding anything? Like I'm literally out trying to get drugs. And my best friend's in the hospital. He got stabbed in the stomach. And it was just mayhem all the time. I got arrested. There's a crazy story I like to tell, and then we'll move on, which was in the cranberry bogs, right? I grew up in there was cranberry bogs where I grew up. The cranberries are like a small pond and they flood them and they float to the top and then they scoop them out. It's actually beautiful. Tons of hockey players where I grew up, right? Because these things turned into hockey rinks all over town. So
Okay.
everyone played hockey. I didn't. I had my face pressed up against the glass, so there's a little bit of feeling different than my friends. And so we're drinking in the cranberry bogs, right? And it's a dirt road, and the cop pulls in on the other side. And I go, oh shit. So I drive this way. So he turns his car and he goes the other way. And then we're going back and forth on either side of the cranberry bog. And I stop my car and all my friends get out and run. And I stay. And the cop pulls up to the front of my car. And I roll down the window and I go, is there some kind of problem, officer? And he just yanks me out of the car. Get out of the car. And he handcuffs me and he stuffs me in the back of the cruiser and he proceeds to go search my car. And I do the number where I slip the cuffs down under my butt and get the cuffs in front of me. I was very flexible back then.
Yeah.
Was
Yeah.
able to roll down the window, bend the metal forward, roll down the window, reach out, open the door, and run with the handcuffs on. I don't know where I thought I was going. I was out of my mind. I look back and there's redheaded Officer Irish Hurley, who was a former high school track star, just like gaining on me like Usain Bolt. Like I look back, I'm like, oh my God, like that guy can run. And he tackles me and I get arrested, and it was just like the next 14 years were just variations on that particular theme.
Right. Sure. And well, how did that substance abuse, like, how severe did that get? Was it you like drinking alone or, I mean, what did
Yeah,
that
I
look?
drank alone. I did drugs alone, but I had friends too. So it was both. And, everyone around me was doing the same. I had 2 DUIs, but my best friend had 4. So he's really messed up. Right. So it's like, they talk about lower companions. Everyone was a lower companion. There wasn't any, it was like, and so it wasn't until I moved to Hollywood, to California, actually Venice Beach, California, that I was kind of like, I didn't get arrested. And I was like, oh, maybe it was all Boston. it was really Boston was the problem, and I made some friends in, at this gym that I worked at in Venice, and we started going out into the nightclubs in Hollywood and that whole scene, and that was fun, and doing ecstasy, and I was like controlling and managing, but then I would have like something that would happen, like I would get into a blackout, and I would like set off the fire extinguisher in my building, and then it would cause a problem. Like, so it was like I controlled and managed for a while, but what happened to me was I got this autoimmune condition called alopecia, right? I started losing my hair, and it was patchy at first. And I was an actor. I was going through method acting school, and I was a fitness model. And my whole self-esteem and self-worth, unfortunately to say this, it's kind of embarrassing now, was wrapped up in my looks. I'm in my mid-20s. I'm trying to be an actor. I'm trying to be a model. And that's my whole self-worth. And now my looks are all messed up, right? Because my eyebrows are falling out. It was just a nightmare. And the doctors had me on cortisone shots in my eyebrows and in my head, and this prednisone, which, prednisone is a catabolic steroid. It's the opposite of what bodybuilders take, right? So now I'm working in Gold's Gym, the Mecca, with all the bodybuilders, and I'm taking fat steroids. I'm taking the opposite kind of steroids. So I'm like this bloated trainer, and the cortisone shots are really painful. So I start eating Vicodin before the session, and then I just start eating it every day, because it's not only a pain blocker, but an emotional pain blocker, right?
For sure.
I don't have the tools. I'm not equipped to deal with what's happening to me right now. And I'm suicidal. And so I'm eating all this Vicodin all day, probably up to 40 Vicodin a day.
What
And
year was this in, brother? Like, because I was a part of that whole opioid epidemic, and they're just handing that shit out like, how much you
yeah,
want? Here you go.
yeah.
And
I
I
was
was like,
getting it from football players at USC and UCLA. I don't want to name any names, from some famous athletes, that would come into Gold's Gym, would just hand me a jar of the shit. It was wild. Yeah, it was
it's the best
so
heroin.
easy.
This is the best heroin that does exist on the planet. It came in that form, in a pill from a
Yeah.
doctor.
Yeah, the drug company said, "We don't want the heroin dealers making all the money. We're gonna do this." That's what they did.
So you're in LA. All your hair's gone. See, I'm glad you explained
Well, it
that
was
out.
patchy and it was starting to go, right? And so,
I
yeah,
thought
so
I thought you were bald because you were from the future or something like that. I don't know.
yeah,
Sorry.
I came out of the matrix. So anyway, so yeah, so I started to hit bottom around that, that's what made me hit bottom. Another friend died. I went on a bender that weekend. I was trying to get sober on my own for a year. I'd get like 20 days and I drink. I'd get 30 days and I drink, right? It was like, I was really trying hard to get it. And I wasn't asking for help. I wasn't doing any 12 step, any of that stuff. I was doing it on my own, right? Cause
Okay.
I'm like, I can do anything, right? I'm fucking
Right.
tough. I got this, right? And so, and I was seeing a therapist. I finally like just broke down and was seeing a therapist. And then I went on a bender. A friend died. I went on a bender and I was jumping the canal bridges in Venice with the cops in tow. And
Hold on. What do you mean? What do you mean jumping the?
there's these bridges in Venice, and I was like hitting them in my car like Dukes of Hazzard. And the cop pulled me over right in front of my house.
What kind of car are we talking about? I need a visual. Is it
I
like a
think the car, I don't even
1970?
remember. I think the car back then was like a Toyota Camry or something. It wasn't anything special. Like, I have a 911 now. It certainly wasn't the 911,
Was that right? Right.
It was like a Toyota Camry. The cop pulled me over in front of my house and he's like, "We thought it was a stolen car because you were running the red lights. You were just going through like a stolen car would." And I was
You
in kind of a,
blasted. Yeah. You
yeah,
just.
I was out of my mind. I started out that morning with my neighbor. We drank 3 bottles of Dom Perignon at Hooters at 10 in the morning, Hooters, cause I'm a classy drunk.
Oh
So,
yeah.
and then it ended,
And the
at a
ladies.
strip. Yeah. And it ended at a strip bar, getting in a fight with the bouncer. Right. And so that night, so, a lot's changed, but I talk my way out of this. The cop lets me go, which I can't believe. And I wake up the next morning and there's, the windows broken and on my house to get in, I couldn't get in. And then there's an empty packet of Coke on the table and my roommate's phone is missing. And she's like, "Where's my phone?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't know what happened." And she's like, "What happened to the window?" And she's like, "You're a loser." And she's a dancer. She's a stripper. Right. And so I'm like, "You're right, stripper roommate. Like, what do I do?" Like I'm breaking down. And she's like, "You need to go to, recovery, AA, 12 step." Right. And so I go, all right. And my therapist had suggested recovery 12 step, months before, but my stripper roommate carried way much more weight at the time. So I went to, there was a guy I knew at the gym, and he said to me, do you want to go to this meeting with me? And I said, yeah. And I went to a meeting, and it was a men's stag meeting, and it was life changing. It was life changing. It was guys my age. It wasn't what you think it's going to be. Like, I think I was lucky. It wasn't like, homeless people with like a mess. It was young guys with with good lives, with shit going on. And I heard them saying things, sharing a level of honesty that I'd never heard anywhere else. And I broke down, and I just was like, this is where I need to be. Right. And I raised my hand, and I got a sponsor, and I started working the steps, and it changed my life. It changed my life. And then somewhere in the process, I think I had a year of sobriety. I wanted to help other people, because that's the 12th step, is turning around and helping someone else. But you can't make somebody. So I did Big Brothers of America. I was like, I'm going to do this volunteer program where you help some kid who doesn't have a father figure in their life. And I started doing that. And that was life changing. So that was the first thing I'd ever done for somebody else without getting anything in return. And I got so much in return, like I'd pick up this kid, and we'd go do paintball, or I'd pick him up and I'd take him to the Getty Museum, or we'd go to the arcade, and we do all this really cool stuff. And I felt 10 feet tall after I dropped that kid off every time. It was life changing for me. And then, of course, I started sponsoring guys and helping guys and doing the work.
Well, okay, so and that answers the question, like, what was the catalyst, or what was the genesis? And I do agree with you that there's a natural desire to want to help others. Because if you think about how tough it was for you just not that long ago, then that's the person you need to be helping. And so, well, good on you, man. Because of that, so that created your pursuit of figuring out a way to help people. But yeah, very clearly, what ended up being your way, right? You said you've been working on this for 15 years, and it's very clear, right? It's very clear. And so I guess, you know, that was where your, love for helping others really started. But when did the breath work like show up? That was after you had already been like a
Yeah, I'd already been sober for 12 years. I had been helping people. I was a sober companion. I had helped some of the biggest celebrities in the world. I had toured all over the world multiple times with rock bands. I had been on the big movie sets and TV sets and gone everywhere, right? I had lived this incredible life, and I was trying to be a writer. I was a writer for 10 years in LA, and I was trying to sell a TV show. And I did sell a TV show to E about my sober companion business. And then that didn't get picked up. And, I was doing all this stuff. And then I'll tell you what happened. So I done Tony Robbins. I met Tony Robbins. Matthew Perry and I were very close friends. I'll tell you the story. So Matthew Perry and I are really close. And I was his trainer for a long time. And we became really close through that. And we both loved hockey. So we were following LA Kings around in 2020. And it just happened to be the year that they went on the run for the Stanley Cup. So it was just a lucky time to be. And we were flying around to the playoff games and hanging out with the Kings after the game. It was amazing, right? Like hanging out with, got to know Justin Williams and Kopitar and all these guys. And so now it's the finals. It's the Stanley Cup finals. It's game 6. It's in the Staples Center. We're up, I think, 1 or 2 goals. It's in between periods. There's a little VIP room underneath the Staples Center. It's tiny. And Matthew and I are in there. And every celebrity in LA that likes hockey or that wants to be there is there. There's Vince Vaughn, there's Will Ferrell, there's Zac Efron, and in walks Tony Robbins into the room. And I go, holy shit, Matthew, it's Tony Robbins. And he goes, really? Every celebrity in LA is in here right now. We've been following on the Kings all season. They're about to win the cup in the next period. And you're excited about a gigantic man right now? And I go, yes, he's amazing. I had his books. I've had his tapes, since high school. I've been following him since I was in high school. And he goes, well, go tell him. I go, no, I don't want to be that guy to him that everybody used to come up to Matthew and bug him. And I was like, I didn't want to be that guy.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't want to be the guy that bugs, Tony. But I walked back through the tunnel, and I think Tony knew, because Tony's like, he's intuitive. He knows everything. So he
Yes.
looks up from his phone, and he looks at me and he goes, hey man, how's it going? And I go, I never do this. I know everybody says that, but I never do. I'm a huge fan. I've been following you since I was in high school. He goes, have you ever been to my seminar? And I go, no. He goes, I only do 3 domestically a year right now, but I'd love it if you'd come as my VIP guest next month. And I go, "You're shitting me." And he goes, "Nope, here's my, secretary's information." Probably shouldn't tell the story because now everyone's going to ask him when they meet him. But anyways, he caught me VIP side of the stage for UPW back in 2012.
Okay.
And it was life-changing. I'm high-fiving him. I'm in that section. You can't even buy the tickets to the section that I'm in. And Tony says at one point, whatever section you're sitting in, whether it's in the back or the front, the different prices, that's where you think you belong. And I was like, that's right. I belong right here. VIP, right? And I was used to that with traveling with celebrities and all that at this point,
Yeah.
right? So I had an experience at Tony, which was, I'm done with Hollywood. I'm done with the TV show, the movies, all the things, the Hollywood stuff, and I'm just going to help people. I'm just going to help people. Whatever that looks like, whatever God, higher power wants it to be, whatever it wants it to look like, that's what I'm going to do. And I also had a moment pulling in the moments where I saw 2 kids, and I never wanted children before. And it was like the future moment when you pull in the future moment. And I went home and I was quiet for a couple days. And then I said to my wife, I think I want children. And she's like, what the hell happened to Tony Robbins? And I go, I don't know. I had this vision of these 2 kids, a girl and a boy, and they look
Yeah.
just like the vision we have. I have a 12-year-old daughter and I have a 10-year-old son. And it's such a gift, right? It's something I didn't want. This is the life I didn't want. And it's so fulfilling. It's so beautiful. And so anyway, we had kids. And then right after that, someone took him to this like healer guy and he was telling me about it. And I go, dude, that sounds like nonsense. And he goes, well, I bought you a session with the guy because you're my only friend that will try something like this. And I want to talk to somebody about it. I want somebody else to experience it so I can talk to them so we can see if the same thing happens. And I go, all right, I'll do it. So I went to this guy and he did some weird breathwork stuff, different than the style that I teach, very different.
Right.
Still, I had an experience. I had a really powerful experience. And the next day, I had my brain turned off the next day. It was weird, like no thoughts in my head. I was just present. It's kind of like the best way I can explain it is if you've ever read The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, that he has this awakening in the park where he's just fully present in the park and he's not thinking about the past or the future. He's just fully there with like nothing in his head. And it was that experience. It was so profound. It was so beautiful. And so I ended up, working with that guy, learning from that guy. And then I went down a rabbit hole of breathwork and learning all the different styles, all the different types of breathwork. So then I found the circular breathwork that I teach now, right? That you did this morning. And so I ended up learning from another guy. So I had these 2 weird woo-woo gurus for like a bunch of years. And we were so different, right? And I finally, to grow, I thought I can take this stuff that I've learned to regular people. I'm going to be the bridge between the woo-woo, new agey shit and a regular person, an East Coast, a regular dude, a
Uppy.
CEO. Yeah. Yeah. A townie, whatever. Right. Like I've had guys,
Yeah.
construction concrete guys come to my class, like I love it. It's mostly women. It's 70% women that come, but like they come and they go, my husband would never do this, but he'll do it with you because you're a guy. So they bring the husband the next class. And then I see him sitting in the audience. Like, I can't believe she dragged me to this shit. And then afterwards he's like, dude, can I give you a hug? And he like hugs me and starts crying on me in the lobby. And he's like, that was the most incredible thing I've ever experienced. And I go, yeah, that's why I do it. It's why I
Yeah.
teach it. It's why I'm here. And so it's beautiful when you realize that like everything in my life that didn't work out now comes together to make me really good at this thing that I didn't even know existed, right? It all comes together. It all makes sense for me to turn around and do this thing and help other people, to change other people's lives. So this was the tool that I use to transform lives now. This is it. And I thought, if I'm going to do this, I want to be the best in the world at it. I want to be the best breathwork teacher in the world. And it started to blow up in that way. And I was like scheduled. I was traveling all over the world. I was doing all these things. And then COVID shut it all down. Right. And that was okay. At first it wasn't. I was pissed. Right. Because I had to cancel a retreat in Iceland and 6 sold out trainings and 5 sold out classes and refund all hundreds of thousands of dollars back. But I was already doing it online before COVID ever happened, and I was doing my trainings online. And I was trying to convince people that, like, it works online. It's amazing online because it's all audio. After I demonstrate it, it's all audio. But people wouldn't believe me. And the old school breathwork teachers were giving me a hard time saying, "You can't do this online. You shouldn't teach this online. This is dangerous. This is reckless." And I go, "Why? You're in your room. You're in your safe space. I'm giving you the permission to stop if you need to." Right? I knew it was safe. I knew it was safer in online than it was in person because people can do inappropriate things in person, or they're not comfortable with people around them, or whatever,
They have
to
to
let go.
thrive. They have to
Yeah.
you make a good point, like, I was the experience had left my body in kind of a, a different when I say altered, it sounds a little extreme, but, I mean, I was, like, a little bit woozy, I was a
Yeah,
little bit
you
like,
are
"Ooh."
in and it is altered state is correct. It sounds extreme because when you hear altered state, you think like you've taken something, but you are in a bit of an altered state. You are a little bit out of it, and you shouldn't drive right afterwards. You shouldn't drive. You shouldn't do it near water or anything like that. Those are the kind of the two main caveats. But yeah, it's like everything came together for me to be really good at this thing. And it's funny because, you know, I I didn't even want to teach it at first. People just noticed the change in me. My clients, my friends are like, "Dude, you're completely different. Are you medicated all of a sudden? What's going on? You're happy, you're present." And I was like, "Oh, I'm doing this weird breath work thing." And they're like, "What is it? Show me." And I was like, "All right, lay down. We're going to fucking do it." And I would just do it with my clients and friends. And then this woman that I knew, she's like, "Teach it at my studio to do like a class." And I go, "I've never taught a class before." She goes, "You'd be amazing at it." All right, I'm going to do a class. So I did a class and I invited some friends, and Matthew came to one of those first classes. And he's like, "Dude, this is your gift. This is what you're supposed to do. I know you want a TV show, but this is your purpose." And a couple of years later, he came to the sold out classes, when there was 300 people and people were, celebrities' assistants were calling to get him in the sold out class. And he's
Wow.
like, I told you this was your gift. Yeah, it's cool. I got to do a class last year in Switzerland for 1,000 people, which was amazing, on this big stage with the cameras like Tony Robbins style. But also the full circle moment was last year I got to do a class for Tony Robbins in life mastery. Like they reached out and they said, "We heard you're amazing at this breathwork thing." And I said, "Can I tell you my Tony Robbins story?" They're like, "Sure." And they had no idea that I
Yeah.
had met Tony and he had started this journey for me. So it's like, it's so beautiful.
I love the synchronicities in your story and how it all kind of comes together, and, hey, man, like, you've mentioned Matthew Perry, like, several times, and so, man, he has turned into what's the best word to really describe him from you? Like, because he's turned into this a very special person in the recovery space, but he's also incredibly unique for his, journey.
Yeah, it's hard because, he really wanted to be sober. He really tried to be sober. I think in the end, he thought he was sober, even though he was doing all that ketamine, right? Like, because we were talking right up until the end. And so I think he thought he was sober, but, there's a lot of people that are dabbling in other areas in saying they're sober. And I don't want to say you're not, but if you're, having your assistant shoot you up with ketamine, on a regular basis all day long, then you're not, and it's unfortunate. But I don't know, some people, they just don't get it. They don't get the recovery. And he had great periods of sobriety, really beautiful periods of sobriety. And I spent so much time with him in those periods of sobriety. And then I would try and help him in other periods where he wasn't sober. And, he was such a beautiful light, his acting, his writing was amazing. His book is amazing. I'm in the book. He talks about doing a breathwork class in the book. That's with me, online. And it's like, oh, dude, it still breaks my heart. I miss him. They say grief is love with no place to go. And so it's like things happen. I was watching the hockey game, the USA beat the Canadians, and I wanted to like text him or call him and be like, "Oh my God, what do you think of this? Like, which side are you on here?" Because he was born in Canada. So it's heartbreaking. It's sad that not here
He
anymore.
tried he tried everything, man, and
Yeah.
it's tough, man, and that's, a chilling fact of the recovery space and AA and doing self and personal development is that like not everybody's promised a ticket to being to where you're at. And that's why it really warms my heart to see you really in full stride right where you need to be doing exactly what you need to be doing. And it just so happens there's so many people that are becoming better as a result of it. And then here's a very close friend of yours, and in a way, kind of a close friend of everybody, no pun intended, right? But like,
Yeah.
he and we just couldn't crack his code, right? We couldn't get it right for him, and it's a tragedy. It's very hard.
He had some, like, it's harder for celebrities. I hate to say this, right? But it is. That's the truth. Because I know firsthand, I've worked with tons of them. And I'll tell you why. His sponsor screwed him over for a bunch of money, right? And he loved this guy. He trusted this guy. And, that sent him out again. And, if you want to stay sober, it doesn't matter if your sponsor screws you over or this or whatever, you're going to stay sober. But, you know, and people would like, someone would record his share at a meeting and then sell it to a tabloid, and so a lot of these celebrities, that have come out with their sobriety, that are open about it, Dak Shepard and Brad Pitt and Robert Downey Jr., they have to go to a private meeting because there's a lot of people in these meetings who are unscrupulous, who are looking for, an angle, money, help in the business, whatever. So they have to go to a private meeting to get away from that,
Well, you
unfortunately.
make a good point, and I've thought about this, like with Michael Jackson. Who's gonna say no, right? If you are a celebrity and you
Yeah.
have those types of resources, the likelihood that somebody tells you no is very low. And so here you have this doctor just
Yeah. Yeah, you could buy
failing.
doctors. You can buy a doctor off. He bought several doctors off. And the other point, I used to say no, but then they kick you out, right? And you're gone. But so the other point I wanted to make about the celebrities is there's no bottom except the bottom inside. You're not running out of money. People still want to be around you. Whereas like a regular person, like that, nobody wants to be around you. You run out of money, you lose your job, you lose your family, you lose everything. The celebrity, you don't lose all that stuff, and people still want to hang out. So it has to be an internal bottom where you're like, I don't like the person I see in the mirror anymore. I don't want to live this way anymore. So that's a harder place to get to,
Yeah, and
you know?
that's the gifts of my journey, is that it was undeniable. I mean, I there was not even a shred of evidence that said I wasn't at rock bottom. It was just full on display, rock bottom everywhere I looked, and that was one of the reasons that I was able to really start stacking sober days, is because there's nowhere to run. That denial phase, it didn't exist for me. It just everything came apart so quickly. But I want to know more about what you're doing now, and like you're putting you're dropping all these little nuggets, right? You're doing 1,000 people with this technique, man. What the heck? That's wild.
That's uncommon. I don't that was one time. It's probably the biggest circular breathwork class in the world. It was in Switzerland. And, I don't usually do that many people. I do classes in person in Los Angeles and in Bend, Oregon, where I live. And I do trainings. I teach other people how to teach it. That's kind of my main thing is I have these in-person trainings, but I also have the trainings online as well. I do the class online on Zoom on Sundays at 9 a.m. California time, and you can do it live with me or you can do the replay. And I do that because people all over the world come for the class or they sign up and they do the replay. They don't come to the live time. And so anyone can experience this. And I offer a discount. It's $29 for the class, but your first class can be $19. Is $10 off your first class. So it's $19 to try it out. And you have to have some skin in the game because if you don't pay, you don't pay attention, right? You and I are a little different that way, but 99% of the people out there, if they don't pay, they don't value it, they don't pay attention. So they quit 10 minutes in if it's free. I would do it for free at this point, but people would quit. They wouldn't keep going past that point, that sticking point, which is about 10, 15 minutes in, and have the big experience that you were talking about that you had today. So you have to have a little bit of skin in the game to push through the discomfort
Yeah,
and
and
to have
I'm
the
so glad
transformation.
I did, man. I
Yeah.
mean, it smacked me in the face. I really I guess I just didn't do enough homework, and then
There's no
afterwards, it's
homework you can do, Ryan. There's no homework you can do to prepare you for it. I've been doing it for 15 years, and my job is to prepare people, and I do the best I can, but it's different for everybody, and it's different every time you do it. And I tell people, like, listen, you don't have to believe breathwork's going to work for you. It's not fucking Reiki. You just have to. It's immediate and it's undeniable. It's something is going to happen every time you do it. If you show up and breathe the way that I show you and you keep doing the breath work the way I show you, it's 30 minutes of active breathing. You're laying flat on the floor. You're not sitting up. You're not trying to meditate. It's not a relaxing meditation. That there's a big misconception there. It's an intense thing, like a workout. And then your head's going to shut off. And I'm going to put, gratitude and love in your heart. So I'm like, where are you going to go for an hour where you're going to clear out childhood trauma and then be filled with gratitude and love afterwards?
It was yeah, it was outrageously powerful, right? And so and it was but it was also hard, to your point. Like, I just because the simplicity of you just laying there and just breathing, that's what you are doing.
Yeah.
You could push it. And so
I want to talk about when you say hard, because people are listening, they're going, it's hard. He does triathlons. It's not physically hard. It's mentally hard, right? Is that what you mean?
well,
Okay.
yes, like I had to keep bringing myself into the moment, and and I was attempting to push the breath, like stretch and go a little bit further, and then I would kind of forget what I would kind of get the process backwards, right? Because it's my first time, so I had done that several times. Like, wait a second, I'm kind of doing it wrong. I go, wait, and then I kind of get back in it. That happened several times. So when I say hard, if you're not familiar, which you won't be, and I wasn't, you could still get the benefit, but you've got to try. You've got to apply yourself. But
Yeah.
I'm kind of used to that, so I was like, okay, I'm going to stay in it, um, despite my brain saying all these weird things, like you said, like I got to go to the bathroom, I got to get up, I got to do this, and I said no, I'm gonna stick with it, and I did. So when I say hard, it's kind of like tapping your head and doing a circle motion on your stomach or something like that.
Yeah.
It's not an intuitive way. We don't breathe intuitively in a
No,
circular.
you're forcing your body to breathe in a way that's unnatural. That's not normal. That you don't really do, but here's the thing. Rabbits, if a rabbit gets chased out in the jungle and it's going to get killed and it gets away, it shakes. It shakes to release that trauma, to clear that trauma out of its body. So I believe this is our mechanism, right? This is our way to release the trauma. And so what happens when you breathe in this way, I want to explain a little bit of the science of it. What happens when you breathe in this way, your brain can shut off. It's called transient hypofrontality. Part of the prefrontal cortex of your brain can turn off. And this is the area of your brain where the ego lives, where the critic lives, right? That tells you you're not smart enough, you're not rich enough, you're not funny enough, you're not thin enough, you're not pretty enough, whatever. I'm not hairy enough, right? And so that can turn off, but that part of your brain doesn't want you to turn it off because its job is to protect you. So you're fighting kind of inside of your mind. And it's really insidious. It's really smart. And it tries to stay on. So it'll try and trick you. It'll give you little jobs. It'll be like, get a glass of water, do a stretch, do this, do that. And you have to just be like, no, shut up. I'm just going to keep doing the breathing technique that he's telling me to do over and over and over again for 30 minutes. But I always like to say, come on, you've done something harder in your life than lay on the floor and breathe, right? Like I use that to trick the brain. Like, you can do this. It's not that hard, right? It's just discipline. It's just intentional discipline to not listen to your head and do the technique over and over again until something happens.
I
Or
love it.
until I tell you to stop, right?
Right, right, and I mean, you just like you kill it, like and you brought up earlier about the music. Music is like so good, man. I was like, this is like just very well done.
Thank
Like,
you.
I just appreciated the fact that you've kind of figured out what is the ideal way of doing this. And so, I don't know if I said it while we were recording or not, but I had done a show with a gentleman who does breath work, and I just and we had did it together on the show, and it wasn't there, man. I wasn't, and I didn't think much of it. Kind of just carried on with my life. But no, you've made a dent in me for sure, and I appreciate it.
I actually thank you so much for saying that. I actually get that a lot. I can't tell you how many times I've tried breath work before and it didn't work. And then someone said I have to try it with you. And then I did it with you. And it was like the experience. And I think it's like I was saying before, everything I've done in my life to come to make me good at this thing, right? Like I was a trainer, right? I was this, I was that. So I use the trainer to push people to stay on, but I also understand where they're at emotionally, mentally throughout the process of the class. So I know what to say to give those cues throughout the class. And I know when to push here and when to do that and the right music to do this. And so it's like it all comes together to do this class. And so if you have tried breathwork before, you haven't tried it with me. So come try it with me and see what happens. You might have a different experience. I hate to
So
say that because it sounds like an egomaniac, but it's just been my truth over the last 15 years.
right, and you have very little evidence to believe otherwise. You've been doing it
Yeah.
15 years, and so the proof is there, and you've done it on a high level, at a large scale, right? With some of the top people that that have resources to say whether or not you're good at it, and it's a fact that you are. So, man, that's all. I think just I've been blown away all day, man. I so appreciate this conversation, and well, like tell everybody how to get more involved, or maybe maybe some other things you got going on, whatever it is. Let's tell everybody what's going on in John Paul's.
Sure. The first thing is, if you're interested, the easiest way to find out if, is just come to a class. Just come to a class online. Don't overthink it. Just sign up, show up for the class. Don't eat 2 to 3 hours before the class. Give yourself the ample time, an hour, lock yourself in the room, use headphones, right? And you can find that class on breathewithjp.com. So BREATHE. People forget they do breath with jp.com, breathe with jp.com, and you can find the class there. And I have another website, Breathwork Teacher Training. So I have courses online. I have this course called the 5-Day Emotional Detox. I have my teacher trainings online. I have all these courses online too. And then I do some stuff in person. I do 2 trainings a year in person where I teach other people how to lead this breath work, how to lead one-on-one sessions, couple sessions, group sessions. That's kind of my way of creating more people out in the world who are helping other people. And, some people go, well, why would they do it with me when they do it with you? You have your own unique voice. There's people who have been to my students who had tremendous, incredible experiences, and then they come to me and they hate me, but they love my student, and that's fine. Like, I can't be for everybody. I can't be true to myself and have everybody like me at the same time, right? And so
Yeah,
I'm creating teachers out there. It's like a pyramid scheme for good, who are out there helping people. And I love when they do my training and then they come back to me and they're like, oh my God, I did a session. Oh my God, I did a class. And the people have these incredible experiences. And it's so fulfilling. It's so purposeful, right? Because it's that thing, right? Where you think happiness is what we need, but you're not supposed to be happy all the time, right? But
true.
purpose, fulfillment, if you have those things, that's a game changer. And doing this work, helping other people with this work, has given me a level of purpose and fulfillment that I didn't know was available to me in this lifetime.
Yeah,
So,
it's a
and
gift.
my students are finding out the same thing as well, you know?
Yeah. It's a gift, brother, and I appreciate you, brother. Well, I'm gonna
Thank
have
you.
all that lined up. I have everything in black and white so everybody can come check you out, brother. But guys, this has been an interesting episode of the Next Just go check out my boy here. He's gonna change your thoughts about how you breathe in and out of your body. So you're a blessing, JP. I appreciate you, brother. Have a
Thank
good
you
one.
so much. It's so great talking to you today. I've had a great time.
Yes, sir. All right.